It's time for a brand new regular segment on your daily source for fantasy hockey. It's time for Start, Stash, and Cut with three of the top young guns in the NHL today. Let's tap in and get this paper.
You're Locked On Fantasy Hockey, your daily podcast on fantasy hockey.
Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Sports across North America are alive, and you best check your pulse because on the latest edition of the Locked On Fantasy Hockey Podcast, we're coming in red hot with a brand new segment, Start, Stash, Cut, with three of the top young players in the game still, Snuggerud, Schaefer, and Sennecke. But before we get to that, we got to show love to our friends at FanDuel Sportsbook. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel, where right now, new customers to the app that place a $5 wager and win, get $300 in bonus bets to use across the app. Mr. Roden, we also got to talk about Brady Tkachuk. Broken hand, minimum of 4 weeks, some sort of hand injury. I shouldn't say broken hand. I'll turn that over to you for the details. However, we still got a 4-game Wednesday board. We've got our brand new segment. I'm fired up and ready to go. It's hump day. Over to you. Brady Tkachuk out at least 4 weeks. And this is the case of, once again, both Tkachuk brothers play that physical style, and sometimes you pay the price.
Yeah, I mean, this injury wasn't his fault. I mean, there's even with the style of play that he plays with. This is just an injury that happens, and honestly, it didn't look that bad at first glance. I'm talking about the Roman Josi cross-check. I think it was more Brady Tkachuk losing his balance, falling pretty much head first into the boards, trying to catch himself, and just the way the wrist and hand bent was awkward, and that's why this injury came into play. So for fantasy GMs out there who drafted him, you put a lot of investment into this player, either drafting him in the first round or, early in the second round. There was a lot of value and a lot of faith in Brady Tkachuk. I saw him go as high as the 6th overall pick in one of my fantasy leagues this season. So especially in those banger cat leagues, you really see Brady Tkachuk where his value soars. And this is an unfortunate loss for fantasy GMs over the next 4 weeks minimum. And of course, the Ottawa Senators. And, as we continue to do our waiver wire Sundays now, looking for replacements, looking for guys on hot streaks, I think the immediate reaction and the immediate consensus is what I'm thinking is you got to look at who's replacing him within the organization. Shane Pinto, Dylan Cousins, both centermen, guys that can move to the wing possibly and play in the top 6 forward group, guys who are going to get extreme opportunity in that top 6 in Ottawa. Both those two guys under 45% rostered on Yahoo right now. I just want to bring up the quote from Travis Green about this injury on Brady Tkachuk. He's going to miss significant amount of time. We'll know more in the next 24 hours. We don't know exactly, but it's 4 weeks plus. We don't know exactly. It's unfortunate. You don't want to lose a player, and you don't want to lose a player of his stature. We're not going to dwell on it. It's just like when anyone else gets hurt, we're going to move on quickly. And obviously, continuing the quote, he's their captain. He's going to be around the locker room. He's going to be, a good presence there. He just won't be able to play. So unfortunate loss, but look within the organization for replacements if you're one of those fantasy GMs who have Brady Tkachuk on your team.
And let me just be clear about my statement off the top that sometimes when you play a physical style that these Tkachuk brothers play and you are as successful as you are, miles on the body, postseason hockey, sometimes this is a negative of success. However, there's nothing bad to say about Brady Tkachuk, and you already mentioned his fantasy value and how critical he would have been to so many GMs out there. So right now, that top line in Ottawa is looking like Zetterlund, Stützle, Drake Batherson. Batherson obviously banged up. They're waiting to see if he comes back. That second line, Perron, Cousins, Michael Amadio right now. I think Travis Green is obviously going to have to get a little bit creative here. That's just
I believe Batherson is set for this game against Buffalo tonight.
Well, giddy up, and a good team to return against. We'll talk about the Buffalo Sabres when it comes to big-time bets for tonight's 4-game board. Every single night we get you guys in and out in 30 minutes, bets, and all of the fantasy news from around the league that you need. And right now, Brady Tkachuk, that's a really tough blow for this team. It's an obvious statement steal, but then when you look at kind of, I don't want to say the pressure is on in Ottawa, but it should be, right? When the expectations have been heightened, after a trip to the postseason and one in which you did take 2 games from a good Toronto team. So to replace his fantasy value, you just like Travis Green, you're going to have to get creative, tap into our waiver wire Sunday. I love that you're looking in-house at some of those options. It'll be interesting to see how they perform over the first couple of games without Tkachuk, because I really do think Travis Green is going to shuffle those lines. So Ottawa off to a 50-50 start. What's your take on this? And let's get to our first ever start, stash, and cut segment.
Yeah, I just think like this, looking at the Ottawa Senators schedule, I mean, I know they haven't started the year off the way they wanted to, even in their season opener against the Tampa Bay Lightning on the road, a pretty good comeback win, 5-4 win over Tampa. They lose to Florida. They lose to the Nashville Predators. They start 1-2-0. So not the exact start again with all those expectations, but this might be the best month. If you're going to lose Brady Tkachuk, and obviously they are, this is the best month to do so because of just looking at their schedule. They might have the easiest October schedule over the next couple of weeks. Seattle, New York Islanders, Philadelphia, Boston, Chicago. They have the Oilers and the Capitals mixed in there as well. But for the most part, when you look at the schedule, it's more advantageous side of things. So losing their captain and their top player, and obviously your top fantasy target from this draft this season is going to be tough. But again, look within house for some of those replacements, Shane Pinto and Dylan Cousins.
Banger League beauty extraordinaire. Let's get to it. 3 of the top young players in the game: Beckett Sennecke, Jimmy Snuggerud, and I don't want to say your boy just yet, but Matthew Schaefer. And
I wouldn't say my boy just yet.
We're going to rotate through a number of trios here, but this is going to try and give you guys a little insight into if you're dealing with a situation with even 1 or 2 of these players. So let me start with my start. And man, did I really juggle these around. Let me get this out of the way clean and simple. I think I started us off here, Steele, on a really tough note. It's Matthew Schaefer. This is a really interesting start for me from this kid. When you see Patrick Waugh, a notoriously hard and tough coach to give compliments to ever, he's been their best defenseman. He's arguably been their best player. And I know that might be easy on the New York Islanders, but the hype seems real around this kid. And this might be the riskiest way I approach this one, Steele, because most of the year I'm going to be starting someone who I'm certain is in the roster for the whole year. And I understand there's still a good shot that this kid doesn't stick. So let me get that caveat out of the way first. This is a top-tier all-around defenseman. His skating is elite. His hockey sense is clearly at an elite level, and I think he has a really good opportunity here to actually stick with the New York Islanders, and that might still be a stretch. We're 3 games in, 3 points, 23 minutes of ice time per night, Steele, and that's what stands out to me. This kid did not have to get any kind of minutes from Patrick Waugh behind the bench. We know how notoriously tough Patty Waugh is on his players, especially players in the blue paint and on the back end. Matthew Schaefer is proving to me that he might be one of the best young defensemen we've seen in a long time, a good Hamilton boy. It's a small sample size. I understand. This player looks good. I know that the Islanders are probably also a riskier team from the other 2 to invest in fantasy-wise. Right now, I'm starting Matthew Schaefer, and I'm drinking the Kool-Aid heavy.
You caught me by surprise. I did not expect Matthew Schaefer as your starter whatsoever. This is going to make for a fun conversation. Agreed. But yeah, all 3 of these players, they're in their rookie season. It's all small sample size. I think Jimmy Snuggerud is the player that's played the most game, and he's at 10 in the National Hockey League over the last year or so. So, I mean, all small sample size, but I'm taken aback right now. I did not expect Matthew Schaefer to come out of your mouth as the starter out of these 3 rookie young guns.
It's spicy. It's bold. I get it, but I like it.
It is a spicy take for sure. We'll continue this conversation after the break. And of course, big time bets at the end of the episode.
Giddy up, my friends. A lot more spice coming up the rest of the week. Steele and I will have another waiver wire special Sunday for you guys to sink your teeth into. We hope the start of the year has been beautiful. Today's episode has been brought to you by our friends at Monarch Money. Most people can't name all their financial accounts or even what they're worth, whether it's 401ks, properties, or investments. And when you don't have the full picture, you end up leaving money on the table. That's where Monarch Money comes in, an all-in-one personal finance tool that brings you your entire financial life together in one clean, easy-to-use interface on your laptop or phone. Monarch is built for people with busy lives. If you've been putting off your finances, Monarch is for you. Monarch does the heavy lifting for you, where you link all your accounts in minutes, see clear data visuals, get categorization and integration, Steele, even though that's not a word, on your spending, and finally feel in control of your money without ever touching a spreadsheet. My favorite part. Right now, don't miss the opportunity for financials to slip through the cracks. Use code LOCKEDONNHL at monarchmoney.com in your browser for half off your first year. 50% off your first year at monarchmoney.com/LockedOnNHL.
And thank you so much for making the Locked On Fantasy Hockey Podcast your first listen every single day. Continue to smash that subscribe button, the follow button. Leave a 5-star review for your boys here. Flip Livingstone. Of course, AJ Livingstone, our biggest and number one fan over there. And your boy, Steel Roden. Thank you so much. Hit that subscribe button. Share with your friends and family. Continuing the Start, Stash, and Cut segment, the new game show that we're playing on today's episode. Going to be a reoccurring segment as well. Love these types of conversation. And I'm still trying to wrap my head around Matthew Schaefer as the starter. I did not expect that out of you, Flip. Still surprising me after 4 years on this show together.
I got to keep it spicy.
I thought for sure you were going with Jimmy Snuggerud. That's who I went with. I think this is clear-cut number one starter out of all three of these guys right now. And when I look at Snuggerud, he's the closest to NHL ready. And I know they're in the NHL, but he is the closest to NHL ready. And already producing in a top six role, and he should be, if not already knocking on the door. So I look at the way he plays the game. He's got a heavy shot, NHL frame, plays north to south power game that translate immediately. And I look at the limited amount of time he's got over the last, 10 games, 7 games last year, got 15 and a half minutes, put up 4 points. He's got 14 minutes and 15 seconds this year. He's put up 3 points in 3 games, as well as 9 shots on net. So I look at Snuggerud. To me, he's the most NHL ready. 6'2". He drives the net well, can sustain contact, helps generate high danger chances. And realistically, I think he could give you 40 to 50 points this season. I think he's that good, especially maybe even more if he gets a bump in ice time. You could see some power play usage from this player, which you're already seeing on that top power play unit as one of those guys near the blue line, rotating with Robert Thomas and Jordan Kyrou as much as possible. He's the starter for me. I look at the opportunity he has in St. Louis around some other really talented young players like Thomas that I just mentioned, like Dylan Holloway, Jordan Kyrou, Jake Neighbors, who you like as well. To me, is the starter out of these 3 players. So that's why I was so shocked and taken aback that you went with the D-man over.
Look, I guess I also do really, when I thought about this segment, Steele, and I like it already, we're going to have to bring this back on the regular every single week. It's right now in this moment. And I know Snuggerud just went off for a 2-piece, but it's right now in this moment who's serving me up more value as a D-man who is a number one puck-moving D-man who's got 3 points in his first few games. Yes, long-term, most definitely. Everything you said about Snuggerud is on point. However, right now, the first 10 games, it's Matthew Schaefer for me all day. Snuggerud is the stash. He comes in.
I would actually have it the opposite way. I would have Snuggerud as the short-term option as right now, and long-term, it would probably be Schaefer.
This season, though, if you're talking keeper dynasty, sure, but this season, Snuggerud is basically to stick with this team. Schaefer, we don't know. So anyway, we can go back and forth on this one. I'm feeling Schaefer in the start. I got Snuggerud in the stash. And I spoke about him in the offseason a little bit. This kid has been an absolute stud everywhere he has played. University of Minnesota Steel, and I had to do my numbers. 135 points in 3 seasons, 66 goals and 69 assists. He lit it up on the World Junior stage, I believe, if my numbers are serving me well. Yes, he did. How about at the World Junior Steal in 13 games? 21 points for Snuggerud. And you already mentioned his small sample size in the NHL, almost a point per game player. What almost made me, I guess what made me put him in this spot is where he is right now slotted in that St. Louis lineup. And looking at the minutes he ate the other night, 14 minutes of ice time, I believe it was, something right in that number. I also am seeing more opportunity, even from Beckett Sennecke is getting almost 19 minutes of ice time. Yeah. It's Snuggerud who comes in for me here. I am excited to talk about Beckett Sennecke as well, though, because this is a really intriguing young player. And the Anaheim Ducks have a really sexy group of young forwards.
Yes, they do.
However, the lineup right here, let me bring that up for us because this is something that needs to pay attention to, and that's what almost made me put him in there as my stash, but I'll turn it back over to you after this. Mason McTavish, Gauthier, and Beckett Sennecke, that needs to be paid attention to. Yes, I'll turn it over to you because those are three really good offensive young players. This kid's almost getting 19 minutes of ice time per night. Pay attention.
Look, I love that we're viewing this differently because I thought it completely the other way around. I think as of right now, in today's game, as we're speaking, it's Jimmy Snuggerud at number 1. And even I have Beckett Sennecke at number 2 as the stash and Matthew Schaefer as the cut. I look at Beckett Sennecke, and, we talked a little bit about him, and you just talked about that second line with McTavish. And Gauthier, which I'm really excited to see what they're capable of doing throughout the entire season. Like you already said, he's getting top 6 minutes. He got 19 minutes of average ice time already in the first 3 games. And when I look at him, let's not forget 3rd overall pick back in the 2024 NHL draft. Tremendous upside for Sennecke, slick hands, creativity, offensive instincts that scream top 6 scorer. And that's alongside Mason McTavish and Gauthier, which elevates his value, in my opinion. Dynamic puck handler who can drive the offense, needs to bulk up and adjust to the NHL pace, of course. Again, still a very young player, but could become a fantasy point per game winger in 2 to 3 years if he starts filling out those peripherals like we expect him to. I think when you look at his immediate return, it's most likely going to be on the low side if he's deployed slowly. I don't know if the 19 minutes of average ice time is going to last, but if he continues to get that top six time as well as power play time, he's going to be a tremendous valuable player, especially in those dynasty keeper formats moving down the road. I just look at his first couple of games, 2 games, 3 points, 8 shots as well. This is going to be a player that Anaheim is going to love having for years. This is going to be a very good team for a long time. When this rebuild, really comes into fruition and they start getting some consistency from these young players, not just offensively, but the full 200-foot sheet of ice from Leo Carlson, Sennecke, McTavish, Gauthier. They just signed Jackson LaCombe. You love Lucas Dostal as well. The Anaheim Ducks are going to be for real. It's just a matter of when, not if.
I would say they've also done a really good job of sprinkling in some veterans. Alex Killorn, Chris Kreider, Jacob Trouba. I love Jackson LaCombe, Olin Zellweger, Pavel Mintyukov. Those are all first-round draft picks. This team is loaded. It's just like you said. When does it all mesh and when does it pop? Sennecke is a sensational little player, and I mean little with all the respect in the world. That's one of the knocks in his game is he needs to make up for his lack of frame and size by learning that full 200-foot game. This will be a theme with young players, and that's okay because why not with this good young Ducks team? And a lot of what I would say comes down to this team's success will be Lucas Dostal in the cage. This team needs that confidence of being able to make plays and not worry about looking over their shoulder at muffins all the time. And I think Lucas Dostal has that in him. What does this mean this year for Mason McTavish's fantasy value as well, Steele? And I wanted to bring that up before we get to breaking big time bets. 4 assists in 2 games for Mason McTavish, 6 shots on net, 5 hits. That's a very good fantasy start for a guy that you definitely got in the mid to late rounds. I like this player as well. I think the contract is now sorted, so he's in Anaheim for the foreseeable future. Don't quote me on that. However, excuse me, I love the Ducks, and I will love winning a few bets this evening.
Yeah, I would love that too, because week one was not kind to yours truly on this end of the microphone. Big time bets coming up after the break. I do want to just shortly touch on Matthew Schaefer, but this episode is brought to you by FanDuel. The NFL season is here, and FanDuel has an offer you don't want to miss. Right now, new customers can bet just $5 and get $300 in bonus bets if you win. That's right. Pick a bet, put down $5, and if it hits, you unlock $300 in bonus bets to use across the app. We love using FanDuel because it gives us so many ways to play the game. We've built parlays, tried player props, and even followed the live lines during games. It makes watching football even more exciting when you've got a little something riding on the action. Whether you're a casual fan or love diving into the stats, FanDuel makes the game day experience so much better. So what are you waiting for? Visit FanDuel.com to download the FanDuel app today and get started. And once again, thank you so much for making the Locked On Fantasy Hockey Podcast your first listen every single day. Continue to smash that subscribe button, the follow button. Leave a 5-star review for your boys here, Flip Livingstone and Steel Road. And real quickly, before we get to big time bets, I just wanted to quickly, touch on my thought process of why I have Matthew Schaefer as the cut here in this new fun segment that we're doing. Obviously, a very solid all-around defenseman. I just think at this point, I even have Matthew Schaefer on one of my teams, and you look at over the small sample size this year, all three players that we're talking about have 3 points, have close to 10 or 10 plus shots. They're all playing really good to start the season. I just think the setting that Matthew Schaefer is in with the Islanders makes it a very tough position to really squeeze that fantasy value out of him. And I do think he's going to have some learning curves along the way defensively. 6'2", 186 pounds. I think he needs to bulk up a little bit. He's still only 18 years old. This is a lot of responsibility, and as much praise and as much kind words as Patrick Waugh has showed so far, which is very rare, like you said, this is still a lot of responsibility for an 18-year-old. We know the New York Islanders struggle offensively. We know they struggle on the power play. We know they struggle on special teams. It's just a lot to ask out of an 18-year-old number one overall pick just a year ago. So as much as I do believe he's going to be a big value piece down the road, and while he has had a great start to the season, I just think out of these three players, the different settings that Sennecke and Snuggerud are in with their respective clubs gives them that edge with the fantasy value. And I do hope Matthew Schaefer proves me wrong, but as of right now, he is on the cut.
I would say this: he is a number one overall draft pick for a reason, and number two,
of course,
he does have an opportunity in front of him to become the number one defenseman, not overnight, but basically eat those minutes. And a guy that has his skill set on any team in the NHL, for the most part, that is an angle. Look, number one defensemen are a dime a dozen. They don't come around all the time. I don't even know if a dime a dozen is the right phrase there, Steele, because I'm trying to say they don't come around too often. So what I'm trying to say is I already love this segment. Pay attention to the first week and a half. That's the bottom line here, because there's going to be some roster changes, even with a young team like Anaheim. So that's why I thought this was a good way to start it off with three of the best young players in the game. Bottom line on that one. However, Wednesday's 4-game board. I've got 3 money line plays. I don't always do this because I really do like giving you guys a little mix of my picks, but I think that's the indication, Steele, of this is a tough little board here. 4 games. Let's get the blinders on. Over to you. What's the first pick you're cooking up?
I got a same game parlay. Just looking at some of these, looking at the 4-game slate here, I wasn't a fan of some of the odds when it came to money lines, even puck lines as well. I was looking towards that Utah game. I do have an honorable mention, so let me just start with that. I do have Clayton Keller anytime assist. He only has 1 point in the first 3 games to start the year, and after all the hype and tire pumping I've been giving him this offseason, he needs to get everybody going if you drafted him. So I like the Clayton Keller anytime assist against the Calgary Flames. You could also take them on the money line at minus 215. They beat the Flames all 3 times last season. However, I have a same game parlay from the Ottawa Senators Buffalo Sabres game. Number 1, Sabres on the money line plus 100 against the Ottawa Senators. They won the season series last year, took all 4 games by a significant margin, might I add. 7-3-0 in the last 10 games. And after the strong words Tage Thompson came out with the other day, I think he's going to come out guns a-blazing as well.
Love it.
So followed by the Thompson 4+ shots at plus 118. He has 23 shots in 3 games to start the season so far. And after, like I said, the fireness that he had going in that post-game, scrum, I think he's going to come out really hot against the Ottawa Senators at home as well. This one, very spicy, not a little spicy, very spicy. Thompson, 2+ goals at plus 1,100 against the Ottawa Senators. He's been one of the most consistent and prolific goal scorers over the last.
Let's get it out of the way. You love Tage Thompson.
He's the Tage Thompson fan club. Look, he's been one of the best goal scorers over the last 4 seasons. I understand it's a tough start to go 0-3, only 1.1 goal to start the year. That's why I'm on the Tage Thompson train right now. I'm tugging the Kool-Aid right now.
Triple T.
Look, Triple T it is. Tage Thompson, 2+ goals. Tage Thompson, 4+ shots. The Sabres on the money line will be my lock of the night.
Absolutely love the Sabres revenge angle here. The Ottawa Senators have dropped 2 games in a row. Now they get the news about Brady
this season too.
The offense is really struggling here with the Ottawa, well, for both teams, but the last 2 games, the offense only putting up 3 goals. So love the Sabres on the money line. That's my first pick. I like that you're so hardcore into the Tage Thompson revenge angle. I just want to throw this out there if we want to really get spicy on today's episode. You know what colors he would look really good in, Steele? Blue and white. Just throwing that out there very quickly. Second pick, Panthers money line. This one feels a little bit too good to be true, especially because the Detroit Red Wings just played some pretty good hockey on a home-and-home against the Toronto Maple Leafs. I don't really care because this is the Stanley Cup champions and proving that even without Barkov and Tkachuk, their 2 best forwards, maybe not even arguably, just their 2 best. 7-2-1 in their last 10 games against the Detroit. I was going to say Tigers. I was going to say Lions, Red Wings.
What is going on today?
Let's go with the Panthers on the money line, who have started the season 3-0 and are just still going to be an absolute unit. My favorite pick by far. Shout out to our boy Snuggerud. The Chicago Blackhawks have won 1 game in their last 11 trips to St. Louis. It's a black hole of losing for this team. They've dropped 5 straight against the St. Louis Blues overall, and they only have 2 wins over their last 10 overall against the St. Louis Blues. I think that's all I need to say here. Blues, money line at home against the Blackhawks. It's going to be another really long year in Chicago. And I think once again, the Andre Burakovsky option here might have also been a swing and a miss deal. So we'll see what happens.
The Chicago's going to be mix matching, plug and placing the entire season. However, we did mention some players, Sam Renzel being one of them, but of course, on the blue line, Frank Nazar being another one that is going to get a ton of opportunity. Those are the big time bets for Wednesday. Thank you so much for making the Locked On Fantasy Hockey Podcast your first listen every single day. For your second listen, you got to go check out the all new Locked On NHL Game Night. Every game, every night until a Stanley Cup champion is crowned. Get local analysis on a national scale. Find NHL Game Night on Locked On NHL on YouTube or wherever you listen to your podcast. And we'll see you back here again tomorrow.
Peace.